Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters. I'm the Roadrunner, straight out of Vegas. I'm the author of the book, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone. Without the sun's rays, we have no life. There is no life on Earth without the sun, and without the moon blocking the sun and giving us nighttime, so we can enjoy having sex or enjoy our nightlife, whatever it may be, make life more interesting. There is no life on Earth either, because there will be nothing but burning fires on the Earth's surface. Thus, there will be no water, no oceans, no rain, no rivers, no snow, no anything, no air to breathe, because the Earth would be all on fire, and there would be no oxygen to breathe, no oxygen produced from the plants, from the greenery effect on the Earth's surface that oozes up and gives us oxygen. So, the oxygen to breathe is life itself. All gifts from God. All vicious or beautiful, I shouldn't say vicious, I should say beautiful chain reaction created from Mother Nature, which is our creator. The mother of nature is the creator. Now, you, again, can call him any name you want, or call him or her, or whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. But in my opinion, God is of no sex. God is a living spirit of energy all around us. If we ever get to see his personage in person, say after we die and we're able to go to whatever you want to call it, they call it the pearly gates in the Mormon church, but that's how I grew up. But whatever you want to call it, if you're able to meet our Creator, I believe his energy and his vision will be right in front of you, which is a beautiful thing. But I don't know. I haven't died yet. I only know that I saw the movie Ghost. And in the movie Ghost, I believe that good spirits take us out of our body or bad spirits take us out of our body. I myself am not worried about bad spirits taking me out of my body, because I'll die with a dog, and God is dog, spelled backwards. So I'll die with God by my side. And that's my opinion. Just like anything else on this show is my opinion. But I can guarantee you this. My opinion is the strongest of all. And I don't mind being in the back of the car, just like the back of the trains when I sold temporarily in New York City. I sold batteries and ring flashers on the trains throughout New York City. I did it like 23 years ago, roughly 23 years ago. I only did it for like 6 months because I pumped up and then went and played poker in Connecticut and Atlantic City. I went back to Atlantic City and Connecticut and started touring back and forth playing poker, playing live poker, but I couldn't dry up and stay off the crack, so I never really got pumped up. I wasn't really focused like you need to be as a poker player. You need to be 100% focused to make a living playing poker. You can't have any vices. Any vice whatsoever, you'll go busted, you'll go broke. Or you'll keep from pumping up because the expenses will chew you up and spit you out. The normal expenses are hard enough to overcome. Motel, the gasoline, the eating out in restaurants, or even eating in casinos. They don't give you anything free, especially if you're a poker player. Poker players basically have to pay for their own food in any casino. They might give you a little discount in California, which is the greatest place of all in the world to play live poker. California is, hands down, the best possible place, the best environment of any state, any city in the world doesn't even compare to the cities in California where you can play poker, in L.A., San Diego, the Bay Area. Doesn't even compare. By far, California is the best because the rake is not that much higher in California versus the rake in Vegas. And the rake in Vegas might be the lowest rake, and it might be the same type of rake as Vegas throughout Midwest areas to play poker, such as Iowa, Ohio. There's Cleveland, Ohio. You can play it like Jack's, but that's a dump. And they run it like a dump, and the floor people suck. They're the worst. They make bad decisions. They don't protect the tourist, the player who's a traveling player. They do not protect you. They protect the locals because the locals are there taking care of them every day. So it's a corrupt poker room in the first place. So I'm not impressed with Jack's. One time I was in a session and a guy was shoving his phone in front of my face. I couldn't even see the flop. I couldn't see the other player's hands that was in the pot with me. And this guy's not even in a hand, and he's holding the phone over the felt. So he's blocking my view. He's sitting on the 50-yard line, and I'm sitting on the 40-yard line. He's sitting in the center of the table with the worst possible seat to hold the phone over the table is when you're sitting on the 40-yard line in seat 4, or sitting in seat 6, which is the 40-yard line, and the 50-yard line is seat 5, sitting in the center of the table. So when he's sitting in the center of the table, or the 40, or the 40-yard line on the other side of the 50, the other side of the center of the table, or the 40-yard line to the left of the 50-yard line on the table, where he's sitting in the center in 5 seats, so that's 6 seat is the 40-yard line. And to the right of the player in 5 seat is the 40-yard line, which is the 4 seat. So if he's sitting in any one of those 3 seats, the 4, 5, or 6 seat, and holding his phone over the felt and blocking the view of another player who's sitting in seat 7, seat 6, seat 6, or sitting in seat 3, and he's sitting in the 4, 5, or 6 seat, or she, holding the phone over the bumper and over the felt and obstructing the view of a poker player. Well, that's ridiculous. How could the House not enforce a rule to have the phone behind the bumper anytime during the game? Not even in the hand, when the hand's not even being played, while the dealer's cutting the cards, because now they have a shuffle machine shuffle the cards so they can do everything more quickly, and the house makes more money. That's why they incorporated the shuffle machine down on the table, underneath the table, in the bumper. They have a shuffle machine to where they're shuffling the other deck. The machine is shuffling the other deck while the dealer is dealing the other deck. So all he or she does, the dealer, is pulls the deck out of the machine, flips a button, and it opens up, and they pull the deck out, and then they cut the cards, and that's it. They don't shuffle the cards whatsoever. Anywhere in the casinos in America. They got rid of that a long time ago. Well, I'm fine with that, just as long as the dealer is able to cut the cards. If the dealer is not able to cut the cards, I'm not playing in the casino. I'm not playing there. If they're in too big of a rush and they want to make just a little bit more money because they're so greedy, casinos are so greedy to make the money, it's all about a time factor with them. If they can pull the deck out and not have to cut the cards, that means the machine cut the deck also. No way. I'm not playing in that house, and I'm gonna expose the house, any house that does that, and I'll give you like houses in L.A. that do that. The Commerce Casino does it. Commerce Casino, Ocean's 11. The Commerce Casino in the city of Commerce in L.A. Ocean's 11 Casino in Oceanside, California. Don't allow the dealer to cut the deck. I'm not going to. Don't quote me, because I won't say another casino unless I'm absolutely sure. But those 2 casinos I know for sure don't allow the dealer to cut the deck. Oh, and Hawaiian Gardens. That's correct. Commerce Casino in L.A. in the city of Commerce. Hawaiian Gardens in Hawaiian Gardens in the city of L.A., a suburb of L.A. also. Neither one of those casinos allow the poker dealer, to cut the deck. The deck is cut by the machine. So fuck them. I'm not playing in those casinos. Not going to happen. If the human element is completely destroyed in the shuffling of the cards and the cutting of the cards completely demolished, no chance. I'm not playing there, and I'm going to expose them for it. So that's Hawaiian Gardens, the Commerce Casino, and Ocean's 11, all 3 casinos. Now, I wrote a gambling chapter in my book, and I wrote never gamble against the house. Never gamble against the house. And that also especially includes sports betting, which is America's national downfall. It's the greatest downfall there is to the American public and to our economy, is sports betting. Because the casinos are stealing all the money. They're getting all the money. It's not going back into the economy, and it causes hardship amongst American families. Like husbands and their wives, they fight all the time over it. They get divorced. They lose their house. People are moving out of houses right and left in Vegas because they can't control their gambling habits. And that's why there's so many foreclosures on homes in Las Vegas. And so many homes are readily sold in Las Vegas, mainly because they cannot live in Las Vegas and function in Las Vegas like any other town in America, because there's so many temptations in Las Vegas. There's the strip clubs. There's the drugs, and the worst of all is the gambling. Drugs are a problem in any city in America, and I've seen cities completely taken over by fentanyl. Neighborhoods in any city in America. There's certain neighborhoods in any city in America that have been completely taken over by fentanyl, by the craze of fentanyl, amongst all the junkies out there walking on the street. That's all they want to do. That's all they want to get high on. They don't want to get high on any other drug. They just want fentanyl, because fentanyl is the strongest drug they can find. And that's what people do. That's what addicts do. They get addicted to the strongest drug they can find. And that's what happened to fentanyl. Fentanyl controls certain neighborhoods in Salt Lake City. In Salt Lake City, Utah, of all cities in America, Salt Lake City, I can tell you, there's neighborhoods that are completely controlled by fentanyl. I can tell you exactly what the neighborhood is. It's like around 17th South, all the way up to 13th South. 17th South to 13th South, from Main Street all the way down to that 4-block area, all the way up to State Street in that area. Square blocked area. From Main Street to State Street, which is like a block apart. And then you've got from 13th South to 17th South. Let's just even go on down to 21st South. I'll just include 21st South. In between Main Street and State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah, from 21st South to the heart of 17th South to 13th South, those neighborhoods are completely controlled by fentanyl. Addicts walking in right and left to stores or hanging out in neighborhoods, and they're all hooked on fentanyl. They don't have time to do any other drug because they want the strongest drug out there, and that's what they crave. So that's what's up with that. And it's incredible. I just find it amazing. And you can take any city in America and they'll have the same problem, same dilemma as Salt Lake City has, and it's 8-block radius, north and south, to 1 block east and west from Main Street to State Street, completely controlled by fentanyl. Addicts walking around right and left. They all want the same drug. And you've got the women that are hooked on it, that are shooting it, and they're looking for dates, and they're trying to get their next fix. And the funny thing about drug addicts is they don't want to leave the area they're in, because that's where they score their drugs. So they're afraid of leaving going out in the outskirts of any area. They don't want to leave that area because they're going to have a hard time scoring the next high. That's how sick their addiction is. They're afraid they're actually imprisoned in that area so they can get their next fix. So that's what's up with that. But I'll talk about the greatest national epidemic, which is sports betting. There's 2 major gambling corporations that are dead broke, that are deeply in debt. And I'm going to mention one of them. I'm going to keep from mentioning the other because they haven't done as badly as the other organization. So I'm going to mention the MGM Gambling Incorporated. MGM Gambling Incorporated, which spurts throughout America. It owns gambling establishments. Doesn't own the property, but owns the rights to gambling in that spot, in that particular location, which is owned by a real estate investment company called Vicky. Vicky owns all the property. They own every square foot of the property. Vicky Properties Incorporated. That's a VICKI, Vicky Properties Incorporated. And they originated from Portugal. Check that out, Ivan, to make sure. They originated Vicky Properties Incorporated, where they originally were originated originally, and that was I'd say that's Portugal, the country of Portugal. Where did that originate? Thank you, Ivan. So anyway, like we got that Vicky Properties that owns all the property that the MGM imposes on the American people and wants to act like they're the owners. They're the owners because when they evict you from their property, they really don't own the property they're evicting you from. So when they make the choice of evicting somebody from the property and don't allow them to go on that property, that goes for every foot of property that they have the gambling control of gambling over, which is the MGM Gambling Incorporated, goes all the way back to the Borgata Casino in Atlantic City. Vicky Properties owns that also. And so they own all the land, they own all the real estate of the Borgata. But MGM has the rights to gambling on that property and the hotel, running the hotel, the management, running the leasing out space to the restaurants or whatever it may be. Whatever they get, whatever percentage they get, it all they get that percentage of everything that's incorporated on that property. Every form of gambling, every form of income that's incorporated on that property, and they pay the lease fee, and they owe deeply. They owe deeply. They're paying the lease fee, and they are paying off their debt. But their debt, they're paying off interest on their debt. So their debt is very hard to get rid of. It's an internal problem also. It's not just a problem about like being in debt. Being in debt from corporations in America is caused internally. It's not caused by the clientele that comes in there, because casinos ordinarily beat people out of their money gambling. They beat them out of their money. First book out listed is Beehive Golden Pond in East Windover, Utah. Windover's actually a border town, so it's in 2 states. This small city of 6,000 people, about 90% Spanish people. What a beautiful town this is. That's Beehive Golden Pond on 479 Windover Boulevard in Windover, Utah. Buy a book there and get the free hat along with any book purchase. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. So anyway, like, they had a problem. They had a huge problem because the MGM Incorporated was $30 billion in debt. And they're paying interest on the money that they owe. They're paying interest. Plus, they're leasing the property from Vicky Properties, so they're paying the leasing fee, which is that's a hard nut to overcome. And then they're paying interest on the debt that they owe, the $30 billion that they owed at one time. So what the MGM did is they cold decked the American public. That's exactly what they did. They hired Jamie Foxx, the MGM Incorporated, which is very powerful in Las Vegas. It's more powerful in Las Vegas than any city in the world, the MGM Incorporated. This is where they lease a lot of the properties that Vicky Properties Incorporated owns. Vicky Properties Incorporated originated in the USA, of all places. It originated in the USA. It was Victory Properties. Victory Properties is a different real estate company, investment company. Victory Properties that originated in Portugal. So I'm talking about Vicky Properties, okay? I'm talking about Vicky Properties that owns all the property that the MGM Incorporated is leasing that space from. So the MGM doesn't own a foot of the property, not a foot, but they want to make the American public think they own it. Of course, they nameplate their casinos. They give their casinos a different name, but Mandalay Bay is owned by the MGM Incorporated. The Luxor is owned by the MGM Incorporated. Excalibur is owned by the MGM Incorporated. It used to be owned by the mob in Kansas City. Excalibur was the last of the mob casinos ever to be open in Las Vegas, and they loved it. They frolicked off the MGM, making a huge mistake in the past. When the MGM Grand was erected, the MGM, I shouldn't say the Grand, because the Grand is back in Gulfport, Mississippi. That was a boat that was in Gulfport and Biloxi. So I'm going to talk about the MGM. The MGM property that was originally owned by the MGM and had to sell out. I believe they had to sell out because they were deeply in debt and they couldn't afford to own the property. They made the hugest mistake in the gambling world ever made, other than having David Weber syndrome after going after me. This is the worst mistake they ever made. I'm just going to give them bad publicity. I'm just going to expose them for what they've done to the American people, for what they did to me. But the worst mistake they ever made was when they originally built the building that used to be the Marina Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, one of the last clip joints ever opened. Probably the last clip joint ever opened was the Marina Hotel and Casino, where they cheated you in blackjack. And the dealer would hold the cards up their head and act like they're itching their eye. They're peeking at the deck and seeing what the second card is on the deck or the top card is on the deck. And whether they want to deal you a second card or the top card, whatever card is going to bust you as the player. Because the dealer always hits last. If you go busted before the dealer goes busted, they get your money. They don't have to pay you your money back if you go busted and then they go busted. Because you went busted first. That's one of the rules that in blackjack was to their advantage. You don't have to pay a dealer 1.5 bets. When you make a bet and they hit a blackjack, you got to pay 50% more on that bet. So that's to your advantage, but that rarely happens. The busting the hand is the most probable cause of you losing money, is you going busted before the dealer. That's why having the button as far as blackjack goes, the dealer always has the button. They're always last to act. All the players have to act before the dealer starts taking any cards necessary. And the dealer has to hit in blackjack anytime they have a 16 or less. If they have a soft 17, they can either hit or they can stand. A soft 17 is like if they have a 6 and an ace. That's a soft 17, because an ace can either be 1 or 11. It can be either 1 or 11. It can represent the number 1 or number 11. That's what the ace, that's why the ace is the most powerful card in the deck in blackjack, because it can represent two different numbers, 1 or 11. So when the dealer has a soft 17, they can either choose to hit the hand or stay pat. Most often, they're better off just staying pat, because the most probable card on the deck is an 8, with all the kings and all the queens and all the jacks and all the 10s. There's only so many 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. There's only 4 of each one of those numbers in the deck. But a face card is 4 10s, 4 jacks, 4 queens, 4 kings. So that's 16 different cards, all representing the same number, 10. All representing the same number, okay? So when a dealer's showing a face card, you got to figure like they've at least got an 8 on their bottom card. That's what you got to figure when you play blackjack. You got to figure they got an 8. If they're showing an 8 above, what are you supposed to figure? Well, I would think that if I had a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or maybe even a 6, I might want to hit my hand, because there's so many face cards in the deck. I always figure they got a face card underneath. But I don't play blackjack. I'm not a professional blackjack player, never wanted to be. It's not that complicated in the first place. The more complicated the game, the better it is to play. And the best game to play is always when you're playing against other opponents in a casino. So you actually use the casino as your ally to gamble against other opponents that walk in the casino also to gamble against you. It's usually always the best player, the next best player at the table that always gets the money at the end of the week, the month, or the year, and especially the year. So you have to pretty much be the best player at the table to make a living playing poker. And you've got up to 8 or 9 opponents at the table that you're playing against. So you've got to be the best of those 8 or 9 players that are playing at the table. Now, the house used to have players like in a poker game, they used to play 10-handed hold'em, but they don't play 10-handed hold'em anymore. In fact, high-limit hold'em games, they only play 8-handed because they shuffle the cards more often and they get more of a rake. They're able to rake more money because they're able to deal more pots because they're dealing with less players, less time taking place. Thus, they deal more hands and make more money on the rake. The house is making like anywhere from $120 to $200 per hour on that table. At least $120 to $200 per hour they're raking off that table. Some houses will charge time. Even in Vegas or LA, they'll charge time, like $7 or $8 every half hour. So you're paying like $8 to $16 or $7 to $14 per hour, or $8 to $16 per hour. And what they do is they have a bong pot where you play the bong pot, and everybody puts their time in the bong pot, okay? And then they take so much out of the bong pot for the profit, and then the winner of the bong pot, or the people that split the bong pot, because there's 2 different flops, they end up paying the time for everybody else, which is a good deal for the player, especially if you're a winning player. Because if you can beat the bong pots out of more money than your opponents, if you can win the bong pots, then that's more profit in your pocket. But ultimately, you're paying their time also. But I don't care about paying somebody else's time. When I win a pot, I don't care. They basically gave me profit for my time. That's how I look at it. So every player has a different way of looking at it. Any player that doesn't get involved in the bong pot, consider them a net. Watch when they're playing poker, because they're a player that always wants the best of it. They don't really want to complicate the game. They want to have the stone cold nuts when they play a hand, and they'll never become great players if they elude themselves from playing a bong pot or being involved in a bong pot. They've got no gamble. They'll never be a great poker player if they don't play bong pots. That's the first sign that I see. Whenever I see a player that doesn't play a bong pot, they're not a great player. Great players always play bong pots because it's a more complicated game. It makes the game more complicated. Now you got to look at 2 flops. You got to justify if you got the best of it. You got to watch out about getting trapped, because it's very easy to get trapped in a bong pot. You can overplay one hand and you don't have the best of it on that hand or on that flop. And the turn on the river cards, so you got 5 cards out there for one flop, and then you got 5 cards out there eventually for the second flop. The turn in the river also. So playing 2 separate hands. So if you don't have a really powerful hand on one hand and have a possibility on the other, it's really a bad investment. So try to give myself a little bit of an out on the second hand and try to dominate on one of the flops and think that I have the best of it on one of the flops, or have the best possible draw, at least on one of the flops, and a backup draw on the other. So it becomes a very complicated game, very complex. Poker is the hardest of all games to gamble at in a casino. So if a player doesn't know how to play poker, they're much better off gambling in the pit. The pit is the blackjack, craps, slot machines, roulette, keno, even sports betting. If a player is a complete sucker at playing poker and cannot win playing poker, no matter what cards they're holding, they're much better off playing into any other game in the pit. And the lowest game on the totem pole of all, for sure, is sports betting. Another retail outlet to buy a book is Chevron Gas, Liquor, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street. There's 2 Chevron stations. Make sure you get the right one. That's Chevron Liquor gas and convenience store on 1301 East Altman Street in Ely, Nevada. You'll get the free hat whenever you purchase my book. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. Slot machines are very low on the totem pole also. I'd rate them second to be in the lowest possibility of winning at the end of the year on the totem pole. There's professional slot players that claim they make money and they lie their asses off. If they have to spend more hours playing slot machines than I spend sleeping. And I spend plenty of time sleeping. I get my 8 hours every day. I'm not like Donald Trump. I have to get more than 4 hours of sleep a night. And I don't drink coffee to stay awake all day either. So I take care of my body, and I live a good life. And I look better for my age than most people that I've ever known in my entire lifetime. And I want to keep it that way. I want to be around a long time. I'm not in a hurry. I love this planet. I love my life. And I'm sorry to say if I outlive my next dog, the dog that I currently have, and I have to get another dog, well, that's just the way nature is. It's not fair. There's nothing fair about nature. But getting back to the MGM and how cold-blooded they really are, I'll tell you a story. But before I tell you that story, I'm going to tell you about Jamie Foxx, about their host, which advertises for the MGM, because they had to figure out a way to get that $30 billion out of being in debt. $30 billion. They had to figure out a method to work in their favor. And the only way they could get out of it was to advertise sports betting more. So they made Jamie Foxx, the great black actor, the one who I liked in any movie I saw. Only played the bad part in one movie that I ever saw that I can remember. Now, if he played a bad role in another movie, maybe you can remember. But the only movie that I can remember that he played the bad guy in was Baby Driver. Great movie. And he was cold-blooded in that movie. Well, I'd like to think that he's also cold-blooded in real life. Because anybody would take this advertising gig and advertise sports betting, there's not enough money they could pay me. Again, he reminds me of like Eric Clapton, who made a huge mistake, but didn't realize how bad what he was doing was as bad as it was. But when he produced the song Cocaine in the 80s in America, and that song came out like a tidal wave. You know, you'd hear it on the radio every 10 songs. You'd hear cocaine, cocaine, cocaine. And it helped spark the flame for the national epidemic of cocaine throughout America. And that was the worst year when Eric Clapton was at the height in his career and created that song. That particular year, he had bad luck that entire year, so he had bad karma that entire year. Bad things happened to him. I won't get into that, but bad things did happen to him during that year. But Eric Clapton was not as guilty as Jamie Foxx, because Jamie Foxx already knows that sports betting is bad for the American public. There's no doubt about that. The flame had already been incorporated in America for the downfall of sports betting to the American public. But Jamie Foxx took that advertising gig, and I wish him bad luck also, because he's a whore. That's all he is. He's a male whore that is using the American public to get paid, because there's not enough money they could pay me to do something like that. There's just not enough money on this planet. I'm smart enough to know that when I die, I'm not taking the money with me. When I came in this planet, I came in broke. When I leave this planet, I'm leaving broke. And that makes me smarter than most, especially when it comes to money. Because a lot of people will never figure that out. They'll never figure it out, that they're not taking that money in the casket with them. They can leave it with their family, and their family can argue over it, and they can get it all, and they can try to get it all. And they will argue over it, trust me. And 9/10 of all inheritance is blown. So Jamie Foxx can definitely kiss my ass and fuck off. But especially the MGM can fuck off. Because they went after the American public's jugular to try to bring themselves out of their $30 billion debt that they created themselves. It wasn't created by the clientele. The clientele does not beat casinos out of money. The rules are in the casino's favor as far as winning goes. Have you ever seen the movie Casino? The greatest movie ever depicted about casinos and how they think? With the scumbag Robert De Niro, the Trump hater with Trump syndrome that can never get over it, that dwells on Trump every time he can possibly speak in public. He's always knocking down Trump. Hey, he's the greatest of all that I can say, that he is by far the worst human being of any actor that has ever lived. I would have to give, to that living actor who's still currently alive, I'd have to give the award to Robert De Niro. I can't even watch his movies and enjoy his movies anymore. He played such a great character in The Godfather 2. I mean, I just can't even enjoy his movies anymore. I just don't believe anything about his character. He's a good actor, but he's not a great actor. Not like a few names that I'll bring up. I'll bring up a few names later on. But as far as I'm concerned, he's no greater actor than Rock Hudson was. Rock Hudson, was a very popular actor in his time. He was very convincing when he acted, and he played the character very well. He was great in the movie Undefeated. I love that movie with John Wayne and Roman Gabriel, the old quarterback of the Rams. I love that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, get it. Great movie. But Rock Hudson played a very, very good part in that movie and had a great character. So I would rate Robert De Niro the same quality actor as Rock Hudson. That's about as far as it goes. I just have to say that Jamie Foxx, took the wrong gig. There's just not enough money on this planet to make to possibly go after the American public's jugular and make it more possible, easier for them to bet online, sports betting. And not just in America, throughout the world. I mean, this is sports betting that's promoted throughout the world, the MGM. And they use their host Jamie Foxx to do it. So they're going after the American public's jugular, and they're just getting as much money as they possibly can to pay off their debt and all the interest that they're paying. And it's working. They're bringing themselves out of debt. It doesn't matter how much money the MGM makes. They're always going to have that internal problem where the management and the upper management is robbing MGM Incorporated. Accounts receivables and working with vendors and putting on paper that they pay more money for this than they really do, getting paid under the table, paying off the vendors underneath the table. There's all kinds of bullshit going on. Believe me, that's why they're in debt, because of internal problems. That's why the MGM Incorporated sucks as a company. It's just another socialist organization that's misrun, that's just run very, very badly. Because it's too large of a corporation where they can't keep an eye on themselves and they can't watch their employees, especially in upper management, that are robbing them. And the employees in the lower totem pole working for the MGM give shitty service or giving bad service because they're all about themselves. Just like, I'll give you this example, and this is why I was harassed by the MGM. I was kicked out of there April 2025, the beginning of April 2025, I was kicked out of the MGM. Let me tell you what happened. I only play poker. I only play live poker in casinos. I don't play any other game but live poker. That's it. Nothing else. I won't gamble in the pit. I won't play slot machines. I won't bet sports. Although I did make a sports bet last year, which is the largest sports bet I ever made in my lifetime. I lost $8,900 on the Golden Knights playing the second game of the playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers. And the Ornos Casino gave a booth to a friend of mine who's a high roller from San Diego, and he came out and he came out to gamble. It was during the World Series of Poker, and the World Series of Poker lasts for like 2 months. I mean, the World Series of Poker is the most powerful poker tournament in the world, and it lasts up to 2 months in Las Vegas and goes through the entire month of June and July. Every year, annually. It's played on Caesars properties. But it's also affiliated with other casinos, such as the Aria Poker Room, which wouldn't even be open to this day. It would not even be open. They wouldn't. The poker room, they would have closed the poker room and the Aria down years ago if it hadn't been for the World Series of Poker to help promote its income and livelihood. Otherwise, they would have dumped that poker room and just put some more slot machines in there because it was wasted space to the Aria. But the World Series of Poker is what enabled the Aria Poker Room to stay alive and still be open. It's only a 29-table room. That's it. There's only 29 tables in the room. There's 29 tables in the Wynn Poker Room also that was erected to be in competition with the Aria. The two largest poker rooms in Las Vegas are the Venetian and South Point Casino. They're the two largest live poker rooms in Las Vegas. Another poker room that's got like 20 tables, 19 tables or 20 tables is the Red Rock Casino. But that casino sucks. I mean, that as far as like playing poker there, because they cheat in those games. The players signal each other when they play the high no limit. They can't get a pot limit game going on the Red Rock. I've tried to go there and play pot limit, and they won't spread a pot limit because they've got the nit crowd. They don't want to play a complicated game. They want to play like A, B, C cards, which is hold 'em, and they have a good hand, and then they start playing it and pushing it. What they do is they'll drive other players out, and they'll signal each other during the hand. So I already know that the game is not legitimate in the Red Rock, the higher limit game, because they only have a 1 to 3 game no limit, and then they have the 5-5 no limit. The 5-5 no limit can play big. You know, if you don't sit down with $1,000 in chips, they can overpower you. So you want to have enough chips to back your hand up. Good players always want to have enough chips in front of them to back their hand up, especially when they have the best of it. This is how you play winning poker. If you only have so much you can bet and you have a winning hand and you can only make so much money, well, you're basically playing like a sucker. So that's how suckers play. They buy in for a little bit. Good players buy in for more money. Every card room, same way. Good players always buy in for more money. But I just exclude the Red Rock. I would never play in that casino or poker room again. In fact, one time I was in the poker room, and after I lost in a session, I left my drinks on the small table by where I was sitting, and the game broke up. So the dealer is sitting at the table, was basically supposed to sit there and wait for the box to be cleared. Not supposed to get out of his seat. He's supposed to sit there and wait for the box to get cleared until the foreman comes over and counts down the box. The dealer's not supposed to get out of his seat. But this dealer somehow felt it necessary to go grab my drinks off my small drink table that I brought in personally from my freezer bag, a bottle of water and a Bai juice, which I've been drinking for like 12 years. Bai juice is the greatest drink on earth as far as I'm concerned. It originated in Florida. It only comes in a 16-ounce bottle. My favorite flavor is strawberry lemonade. Then I love the clementine. And then I also love the Brazil blueberry. They're my 3 favorite flavors. I'll go into Winco and buy them out, like my favorite flavor, especially when they have a special, because they sell Bai juice more cheaply than any store in America, including Costco, which forces you to buy it in a box, and you have to get 3 different flavors or 5 different flavors 15 bottles in the box, and you get 5 different flavors. So you're stuck with flavors you don't like drinking. So anyway, they made a huge mistake. I'll mention that later in their marketing plan when they wouldn't listen to the Roadrunner. These poker rooms, they suffer from David Weber syndrome, just like the Democratic Party and Democratic leaders or movie stars or anybody that you can think of that suffers from Donald Trump syndrome. Well, these card rooms, they suffer from David Weber syndrome in Las Vegas. It's the only city that I can't walk into a card room in certain card rooms is Las Vegas. And my favorite card room to play was the Aria because they had the best pot limit games. They had the best variety of pot limit games. The second best poker room was the Wynn, which I'm a rebel. I admit it. You know, like they try to force you to do something, and I don't want them to. I don't want to do it. I'll fight them. That's just the way I am. So I'm like Trump. I fight for what I believe in, and so I fight against the system when the system tries to shove their stupid rules down your throat. I fight back. So they all know who David Weber is in the poker rooms because, like, I guess I'm popular all over America. I'm known in poker rooms all over America. But Las Vegas is the only place where I can't walk into card rooms and play certain card rooms. And I got kicked out of the Red Rock on purpose. I told the dealer what a fucking scumbag he was, and in front of everybody. And how can you get out of your seat, grab my drinks and throw them in the garbage, you piece of shit? And when I called him out in front of other people, players sitting in the room, the floor man said, "Oh, you've got to come back in and talk to the poker room manager before you come in and play." And they handed me a card. Well, I threw the card back in front of him, and I said, "You can kiss my ass with that card." I said, "I don't even care about coming back in and playing in this room. First place, they cheat. So why would I want to play in a room that cheats, where the players can cheat and the dealer doesn't do anything about it? They're showing each other their cards and holding their cards up in the air, and then another player can see the cards while they're showing them. And the dealer won't say anything because the dealer wants to get that toke. The dealer doesn't care about the game or the players or the integrity of the game. The dealer's just like acting like a whore in the box. When they don't enforce the game or run the game properly, that's exactly what they are. They're a whore in the box. And we all know what whores want. They want money. Just like Jamie Foxx wants money. That's why he's like now my most unfavored actor of all. I don't care what kind of part he plays in a movie. I never want to watch this movie. So I never want to waste my time with the guy because I know he's full of shit. He doesn't believe in anything. If he doesn't believe in the American public, what does he believe in? So anyway, the MGM hired this guy, Jamie Foxx, not Lee, Jamie Foxx, to advertise their sports betting, to make it more accessible to bet online. And like, you know, you got the stone cold nuts when you make the bet. Oh, what a great thing you're offering me. It's like putting the heroin on the sidewalk in front of a heroin addict. When a heroin addict is walking down the sidewalk and they see a bag of heroin, they recognize what it is. Do you think they're not going to pick it up and want to use it? If they don't pick it up and want to use it, then it's still on the sidewalk, exposing itself to other people in the public that are walking down that sidewalk. So that's the same thing they're doing with sports betting. They're sticking it down the American public's jugular, and they don't care about the American public. They're just like the Democratic Party. They're whores in the wind. They only care about themselves. They only care about their corporation. That includes the people that work for the corporation because they all act like whores. So what I'm saying is the people in the poker room, the 4 people in the poker room in the Aria are whores in the wind. And the poker room director called Ryan Kirk, his name is Ryan Kirk, is definitely a whore in the wind. And he's a hater. He's a player hater. He's what I call a player hater. There's player haters in all different markets. It doesn't matter if it's in the gambling world. It doesn't matter if it's in the sports world. It doesn't matter where it's at. In the political world, in the business environment, you can be a guy working for the same business as you, a man or a woman working for the same business as you. and they're jealous because you're a better salesman or you're better at your job than they are. And they stab you in the back and they show their resentment in different ways because they're weak in character. So there's all different kinds of whores in the wind. And when I talk about the MGM Incorporated, I haven't gambled in the pit, so I've had no problem with casino management in the pit, in the blackjack, the games where they have blackjack or craps or dice. Roulette or even the pie gown games they have now in casinos. What I'm saying is like a casino supervisor working in the pit has much better etiquette toward gamblers than any poker room manager alive. Because I don't know any poker room managers that run poker rooms that are good poker players in the first place. They don't really know how to play poker. Maybe that's what casinos want. They want somebody who doesn't know anything about poker and just wants to run the system and be bigoted in his ways and cater to the casino. Maybe they don't want a poker player that really understands how poker players think or how gamblers think. And that's, I guess, what the MGM wanted when they got Ryan Kirk, because he's a bum. Again, I told you that the Aria Poker Room would not even be open without the World Series of Poker. They would have closed that room down years ago. There's nothing special about this guy. This guy wants to act like he's God. You got kicked out for this reason. The only way you can contact me is through emails. We can't talk this over in person because it's not worth my time. My time is too valuable for that. There's no way that I can look you in the eye or you can look me in the eye and you can tell me exactly what happened, because it doesn't matter to me. Because I'm going to take my employee's side of the fence no matter what. Because you're just a piece of shit gambler. That's how he looks. That's how he looks with this problem that was created originally by his cage members. So let me tell you what happened. I'm in the Aria Poker Room in April and playing in a ring game. The ring game breaks up, and me and another player are involved in a hand. He ends up winning the pot, gets lucky and wins the pot. And I asked him, I said, you want to keep playing? He says, yeah, sure. He was a great poker player from the land down under, from Australia. Plays regularly in the Aria. And he's a very good player. No doubt. Well, I'm a very good player from the past also. I really haven't played much poker lately, but I started playing putting more hours into playing poker when they closed my sex capsule business down. When the federal government came after me, I had no source of income, and my way of competing was running my business in the past. Well, now I had to learn how to compete again as a poker player like I'd done in the past and traveled throughout America as a poker player. So I made a living as a poker player for years, traveling throughout America. So I can hold my own in a poker game. I'm not going to tell you I'm the best in the world, but I'm not afraid to play anybody either. Another retail outlet selling my book and free hat is Hoover Dam and Liquor in Boulder City, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas and outside of Henderson, Nevada, just south of there on the way to Phoenix. So that's 1311 Boulder City Parkway is where they're located. Hoover Dam and Liquor. Go over there to the best little liquor store in the state of Nevada. Hoover Dam Liquor. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. So anyway, I'm playing in the game, head up with him, and we both have about the same amount of chips, and it tallies out to where we get involved in a big pot. And he puts me all in on a hand. He's got a junk hand, and he flops two pair as jacks and fours, and I flop top pair, a queen, and that's all I have. And I bet my hand. He checks to me, I bet my hand. He comes over the top and check raises. And on the turn, he puts me all in. Still, I didn't improve my hand, but I had a backup nut flush draw with the top pair. And I could have paired the board without his jacks and fours, or I could have received another pair with my hand and had the two best pair because I had the queen. He only had the jack, so I had the top pair already, so I could have paired another one of my 4 cards that I'm holding in my hand, aside from the flop, and won the hand very many different ways. I had a lot of outs. I had half the deck to hit, at least. And river card, after he put me all in, I still had $12 in chips left after he went all in and tried to put me all in. I still had $12 in chips left. 2 red chips and 2 blue chips. Whoever won this hand was going to win the session. Well, anyway, a blank came out, and he ended up winning the hand with jacks and fours, so I never improved my hand. And the turn gave me a much more powerful draw because I had the backup flush draw. But a blank came out on the river, and I lost the hand. Well, that's how poker goes, you know. That's why they call it gambling. So anyway, I said, hey, great playing with you. Didn't say a word to the dealer, just walked off with my $12 in chips. Cool as Luke. But I'm not Cool Hand Luke. And Cool Hand Luke wasn't that cool anyway in the first place. But Cool Hand Luke, if he was cool, he never would have kept trying to bust out of prison. He would have stayed there and served his time and eventually left. But he was rambunctious, like me, and he was like hot-tempered, like me. So anyway, when I'm walking away from the table, I wasn't Paul Newman great in that movie, though? Cool Hand Luke, great movie. Fantastic. Those strong blue eyes. He could play his character so well and get you to believe in his character. He could hypnotize you with those blue eyes. Well, I don't have blue eyes. I have brown eyes, so I'll hypnotize you with my voice. So anyway, like I'm walking up to the cage, and I put my checks down on the counter. There's 2 gentlemen in the cage. There was a white cashier and there's a black cashier. The white cashier had already been obnoxious in the past. I had never had any dealings with the black cashier. So automatically, instead of coming up to the white cashier that I could have handed my checks to, who was handling one stall, I went up to the other stall and handed my checks to the black cashier, put them down on the counter. My table was the only one going. It was early in the morning. It was only 30 feet away from the poker cage, where the 2 attendants were standing inside the cage. And they were obviously watching the session just like everybody else and watched me go busted in the game. When I went up to the $12 in chips. Now imagine this happened to a high roller, what happened to me. Went up with the $12 in chips and put them down on the counter. And the black guy, because I chose the black attendant, he says to me, "You don't really want this, do you? Are you kidding me? I'm putting my $12 in chips down on the counter. Do I have to hear this bullshit? Do I have to get harassed by the cage member after I just lost $8,000 in the session? Playing poker that day, late night, early morning. I got to hear this bullshit?" I told you I'm hot-tempered. I mean, I kept my cool and walked away from the table. I didn't throw cards at the dealer. I didn't get mad at the player that busted me. I actually congratulated him. I said, "You're a great player." So all I'm trying to do is just go up and cash my chips out, and I got to hear this bullshit from the black cage member. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he was a racist when he did what he did. He was acting like the racist because he was harassing me, a customer, a client. I'm like a member of the clientele to the MGM Incorporated that's $30 billion in debt. They were $30 billion in debt before they hired Jamie Foxx. Now Jamie Foxx is helping their whore, their advertising whores, bringing them out of debt slowly but surely. Now I got to hear this bullshit from the cage member. Immediately, I stuck both fingers and flipped him off. Instead of, cash me out and stop talking like such and such. I don't have to repeat what I said to you because you're smart enough to figure it out. But he was acting just like the person that I told him he was talking like. That's exactly what he was acting like. So I was only calling him out. I was reminding him what he was acting like by my statement. Security, like the floor person asked me, she said, "Do you want to get security and file a report on this?" I said, "No, I don't want to file a report. I ain't no rat. I'm just not going to come out and let the guy catch me out again. I'll go up to another cage member. I will not waste my time with him again." And left. Well, I come back like a day or two later to play, and I come in the room and I put my initials down, and he says, "Oh, DW, you've got to talk to the poker room director before you can come back in and play." I said, "What?" "Yeah, you got to talk to the poker room director before you can come back in and play." So basically, that was the last hand that I ever played in the Aria. Lost $8,000, went up to the cage to cash out, $12 in chips. Instead of just cashing me out, just like a teller at a bank. Have you ever tipped a teller at a bank when you've given them money or given them checks, whatever it may be, made a withdrawal or a deposit in the bank account? Have you tipped a teller in a bank after you've made a transaction? Of course not. Of course you haven't tipped a teller, because that's just the way America rolls. We don't tip bank tellers. Bank tellers don't take tips. If you want to give a bank teller a present or something like that, you can give them a present, but you can't give them cash. You can't give them a cash tip. It's against their rules. They can get fired for that. But there's a difference in casinos. When you tip anybody working in a casino, they can accept it. But here's the irony of the whole deal. If you don't tip them, they treat you like shit. If you don't tip them at the cage, they treat you like shit. Well, I've got a golden rule. When I'm playing in a poker game and I'm losing in a poker game, I don't even toke a poker dealer unless I win a huge pot. What I'm saying is, if I win a normal-sized pot or small pot, I'm not even throwing them a dollar chip, because all I'm thinking about is getting back in the black. Getting back in the black in the game. As long as I'm in the red, I don't feel obligated to toke, because I'm a professional. I'm making money. I'm getting paid to play. That's how I play poker. That's how I've always played poker my entire lifetime. Even if I'm not playing professionally, I always played professionally before and traveled throughout America and played poker before and played as a professional. So if I was not making money and getting paid while I was playing and I was losing money, why would it be necessary for me to toke a poker dealer? They never throw you back a dollar when you lose a pot. So why do I have to throw them a dollar when I'm winning a pot and I'm still stuck in the session? It made no sense to me. It also allowed me to eliminate my emotions to where I didn't become emotional with the poker dealer, because some very good tokers in a poker game, after they take a beat on a hand, you look at them and they'll be staring the dealer down. How could you possibly put me on a beat? I just got through toking you or whatever. That's how they're thinking, like when they're eyeballing them. I never eyeball poker dealers. I tune them out. They're nothing as far as like emotion goes. They're just a part of the shuffling deck. All they do is cut the cards. They can't change the cards after that unless they deal seconds, and they don't deal seconds in poker rooms. That's not how you get cheated in poker rooms. Cheating in the Red Rock is done amongst the players, and dealers sit on their ass and watch it being done. That's how cheating occurs in the Red Rock poker room in Las Vegas, which I want nothing to do with walking into that room and playing ever again, because I know it's a heist room. It's no good. It doesn't have a good clientele that plays in the games anyway. It's like they'll chase a player like me out, because when they get a good player like me out, they'll signal each other and let each other know what they're going to do. But I already know what they're doing. I'm very street smart, so I know what's going on in a poker game. Believe me, I do. But here I am. I'm cashing out my checks at the MGM. In the poker room, cage member, whether he's black or white, I don't care. I've got black people that are very good friends of mine. I call them my brother, because they treat me like I'm their brother. So they're my brother. I treat them the same way also. If they treat me like I'm a cracker or a white boy, and they want to lay their bullshit on me and shove their bullshit, double standard bullshit down my throat, I'm calling them out. That's just the way it is. I lived in L.A. I was a drug addict. I was homeless for like 2 years. I slept on couches and floors, and smoked my crack, and had to pay $10 rent before I entered the apartment. If I didn't pay them $10 that day before I entered the apartment, where I lived regularly for like 2 years, I couldn't walk back in that apartment. I was actually paying their rent from their government subsistence that they were receiving from the government. I was basically paying their rent. At the end of 30 days in a month, I paid them $300. Their rent was only $200. When they're on Chapter 8 or Chapter 9, whatever you call it, well, that's how it worked. So drug addicts are the worst takers of all as far as stealing from the government. Drug addicts, they'll figure out ways to beat the government like you can't believe. Food stamps, discount on the rent, this and that, whatever. They're scamming the government. They've been scamming the government for decades. I used to get high with them, I know. I used to get food stamps when I was on government assistance when I was in L.A., and I used to sell my food stamps to the Mexican mafia. Get half of my money back for the food stamps, the value. If the food stamps had a $200 value, I got back $100. So I know how that game works. I played it. When I was a drug addict, I stole liquor to satisfy my habit. I'd sell the liquor to the drug dealer, sell me the chip, and they'd give me more product than normal, because now they didn't have to get off their ass and go to the liquor store and take any risk and leave their vicinity where they're holding their crack and selling it. So that's how that worked. I figured out every angle when I was a drug addict, believe me. That's why I sold batteries and ring flashers on the trains in New York City. That's why I was the best. And I don't mind, like when the Chinese woman would get on the train and they say, please don't get on the same car as me. Please, please. I said, look, I'm just going on the car at the same time as you, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait for you to go to the next car. And I'll always be behind you. I will never, ever sell anything while you're on my car. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And that's how I did it. They'd go down the car, speak their broken English, and try to sell their goods, whatever it was they were selling, and I'd follow up, just like I do on my podcast. So I'm not a newscaster. I don't have to do anything like on the spur of the moment and talk about these people in Minnesota, about how they're beating the American public out of all our tax dollars that we're donating to the government, to the federal government, and they're pilfering everything they possibly can so they can build their base. And that's how the Democratic politicians operate. They just let everything go underneath them like no big deal, and everything's fine. Everything's kosher. Just as long as we get paid, and just as long as we're able to stay in office and we're able to get you guys to vote for us, you can steal whatever you want. That's how they operate in Minnesota. That's how Tampon Tim Waltz operates. And if I never used his name in the beginning and just called him Waltz, please let me remind you that Tampon Tim was a great name given to him. He deserves that name. He's earned it with true colors. Tampon Tim Waltz. And the mayor's name is Ray, I believe. It's Ray, isn't it, Ivan? The mayor of Minnesota? The mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The punk, his name is Ray. The guy has allowed millions of dollars, if not billions, to be embezzled from the government, from Minneapolis, from the Somalians stealing all their money in Minnesota from the federal government, all our tax dollars. And it's all the way that's how they act. It's how they don't care. They don't care about the American public any more than the MGM Incorporated, Gambling Incorporated, throughout America, and especially in Las Vegas, cares about the American public. They simply don't care. We're their victim. His name is Jacob Frey, the punk mayor from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jacob Frey, piece of shit. never has anything good to say about anything that Trump has tried to do, anything about ICE whatsoever. I love ICE. I think ICE is the greatest organization fighting on the streets for America right now. It's not the police that sit on their ass in Minnesota and allow everything to happen, because they're just acting as innocent bystanders and they're trying to act as witnesses. So the police in Minnesota can definitely kiss my ass. I'm 100% behind ICE, and more power to them. As far as that guy shooting the girl that driving the car, the 4,000-pound vehicle, drove over his foot. Where's the torso? The torso's in the foot, isn't it? Isn't the torso in the foot? Check and see where the torso is. Broken torso, damaged torso. He had to have it operated on. He had to have his torso operated on after he ended up shooting the victim. They call her the victim, the one who was trying to drive him and run him over with their 4,000-pound vehicle. Let me ask you a question, just because I'm of logical thought, and I'm in the rear of the car. Believe me, I'm in the rear of the car because I'm not action news, okay? You're going to get a lot of different opinions, and everybody's going to talk, and these newscasters are going to talk, and they're going to say their bullshit. But their street savvy does not match mine. Oh, okay. And here's why I should never become a doctor. Because the torso is between the bottom of the stomach and all the way to the neck. So he had to have that part operated on. So it wasn't his foot that she ran over him with this tire, which it looked like on camera that she ran over his foot with the tire. But his upper body was damaged and had to have it operated on. So she did almost hit him with the head on with the 4,000-mile suburban vehicle. 4,000-pound suburban vehicle. That's what she tried to hit him with, and he stepped out of the way, and the side of the vehicle, including the window area, the side of the car, hit his upper body. And that's what he had to have operated on in the hospital, his torso area. So she was the suspect, trying to evade arrest and trying to evade getting out of the car, getting out of the vehicle. Now imagine if you, say, an ICE officer was standing on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden a nut house, a lady, a woman, had a knife and started running toward the ICE officer with a knife. It was like 15 feet away from him. It was running dead on to the ICE officer with her knife. Would he not have a right to pull out his gun and shoot her? Of course he would. And do you think that a knife would be more devastating and more threatening than a 4,000-pound vehicle to try and drive over the top of him? Because if he hadn't stepped to the side, that's exactly what she would have done. But he still wasn't able to evade this vehicle, and that's why his torso was damaged and had to have it operated on. So he was every bit in the right. Not to mention he got dragged by a vehicle 50 yards in the past. Dragged alongside a vehicle, had been dragged by a vehicle in his past dealing with the public. So naturally he was scared. Naturally he was emotional. How could he not be emotional? Could you forget about something like that? Things that happen now and how they go after our police officers, and they're currently going after our ICE officers that are representing us and the federal government, which we voted for them to take illegals out of this country that broke our laws when they came into this country. And they're asking for everything for free. And they want everything for free, and they want everything given to them. These are not the same kind of people that came over to America and wanted to follow the American dream and work for it and open a small business like they did in America in the early 1900s. No, this is not the same crowd. So fuck this crowd that came over to America. 22 million people coming over here and infiltrating our borders and getting everything they possibly could get for free. Take them out. Get rid of them. Make them come over legally. I've got a wife that I'm trying to bring over legally that I've been trying to bring over here for 2 years. For 2 years, I've been trying to get her over here to America from Vietnam. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A. I can guarantee it'll be the best mechanical work that will ever be done on your car. It's a personalized job for them. It's not a game of numbers. They're conscientious on anything they do. That includes oil changes, fluid flushes, alignments, brakes. Any kind of diagnostic work that needs to be done, they specialize in, and they do all types of engine work, top of the line. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A in Henderson, Nevada, straight out of Vegas. Anywhere in Las Vegas you live, take your car there. You can't go wrong. You can't miss. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. My book is the best. If you read my book, you will love my book, because my book is not just about gambling. It's all different types of chapters in my book. You can read the preface. You can check out the preface. You can check out the different chapters that I offer. Justify if you want to buy my book. Well, you can't go to a movie and get snacks for less than $80. So if you want to go see a movie, instead of just buying it on DVD and pop your own popcorn in the future, because that's all you have to do is just read my book in your house. You're not paying any rent. You've already paid your rent in your house. So if you get tired of watching a movie or whatever, and you're watching a rerun, and you want to watch, or you want to read something very, very unique and one-of-a-kind book, you want to read my book. I'm not here to sell you my book. I'm here to give you my opinion, so you will buy my book, because my book is the most interesting book you'll ever read in your lifetime. It took me 2 years to write it. And I nicknamed the Democrats, the wacky Democrats. They're all on the take, just like the MGM Incorporated is on the take, and they're using the American public to bring themselves out of debt or to receive their income, because that's what's going on with the MGM Incorporated. Ryan Kirk, the great wannabe poker room director. Well, there's no such thing as a great poker room director nowadays, because they don't even know how to play poker. The two greatest poker room managers ever in history in Las Vegas was Eric Drake and Eric Slidell. Eric Drake first and Eric Slidell second. The reason why I give Eric Drake the number one rating is because Eric Drake is a champion stud player. Plays seven card stud like a champion. He plays at the Win. I've seen him play at the Hustler. His favorite game is 7-card stud. I hate the game. I like flop games. I like Hold'em. I like Pot Limit Omaha. Pot Limit Omaha is my favorite game of all. It's the hardest of all games to play also. 7-card stud is like elementary. But he does things that other players don't do that make him a greater player than others, and make him more exceptional with his game than others, because he specializes in 7-card stud. That's all he plays. He won't play flop games. So he's chosen his market, and he specializes in a certain game and plays it like a champion. But he was such a great poker room manager because he listened. You could go in his office and talk to him if you had a problem. You know, he would talk to you head on. He had his leaks as a gambler. He was a horse betting junkie. Not a sports betting junkie like the current American public. He was a horse betting junkie. And he blew all his money, and all the money he was being paid, and was in debt, owned loan sharks money, all from betting horses. Total degenerate. But he doesn't bet horses anymore. He'll tell me and look me in the eye and tell me to this day he doesn't bet horses anymore. So God bless Eric Drake if he never bets another horse. Because if he never bets another horse, he'll win at gambling. Because he bets on his skill. And anybody that's stupid enough to bet on an animal deserves to lose. Getting back to sports, anybody willing to bet on another human being and then give odds and then have to pay the juice to do it is another idiot in life. You know, a lot of people can't even watch a sporting event. They're so sick about gambling that they can't even watch a sporting event unless they bet money on it. They have to bet something on it to be enticed to watch the game in the first place. So it doesn't matter what game is on TV. Most people will bet on it, even if it's a small amount of money. But small amounts of money adds up. To the millions of people that are betting, that adds up into billions of dollars. So the MGM, using Jamie Foxx to promote sports betting and make it more convenient for the American public to do, not just in America, but worldwide, I can only say this. Don't give them your action. Don't give the MGM your action. Go to these casinos in Vegas and downtown Las Vegas, the local casinos in downtown Las Vegas that have some heart, that are actually trying to survive in the gambling world and doing it the right way, and don't have all the internal problems that they're being ripped off by management, by accounts receivables, and upping their traveling expense and getting their perks that they don't really need, and causing the company that they're working for, whatever casino it may be, to be deep in debt. Why give them your action? Why give the MGM your action when you can give these real small casinos in Las Vegas and the downtown area your action? Because the Strip is basically controlled by three large gambling corporations. Three. The most legitimate of the three is the Wynn. They're the best known by far, the Wynn Casino. Steve Wynn no longer owns the Wynn Casino, but that's the best-run casino of all three large conglomerate corporations along the Strip, all the way from Mandalay Bay all the way down to Strato. Strato used to be called Stratosphere, the Bob Stupak. He's the one who created the idea for Stratosphere, to build the tallest building in Las Vegas, which is Stratosphere. And I think it's the second largest building in Nevada. Check it out and see if Stratosphere is the largest building in the state of Nevada or the second largest building in the state of Nevada. Or tallest building. Second tallest or the tallest. Thank you, Ivan. So anyway, getting back to the MGM, the other casino that is larger than the MGM, that is in debt, but hasn't used the methods the MGM has used, doesn't have the phony poker room manager Ryan Kurt in their organization, which I'm not currently bad-mouthing like I am the MGM, is Caesars Gambling Incorporated. Caesars is the largest of all gambling corporations in the world, Caesars. And they're deeply in debt also. All their properties are owned by who else? Vicky Properties Incorporated, VICKI. They own all the square footage, every foot of the property, the buildings, everything. All the real estate is owned by Vicky Real Estate Incorporated Investments. Real estate is like a powerful thing. Well, if the MGM is so powerful and so well run, why don't they own their own real estate? I own more property in the state of Nevada than the MGM. I own 2 houses. They don't produce a lot of income. They give me comfort, and I'll keep it that way. I didn't buy a house for an investment. I bought a house for comfort. And just like I have a house or a townhouse in Saigon for comfort. Not an investment, just for comfort. So my family, the Vietnamese family, can go over there and stay and visit from the small town they live in, say like a couple 100 miles away from Saigon, so they can come there and visit, hang out. Hey, comfort for everybody. My family is in Vietnam. I don't have a family in America that I consider close to me. I got stabbed in the back so many times, it's scary. I mean, they have no loyalty to me, and I have no loyalty to them. If you could spend 90 days in jail in Atlantic City, New Jersey, I'll tell you a story about that. How much time do I have, Ivan? Okay, I'm going to tell you this story and make it real quick. Anyway, I was like smoking crack in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I this is in my gambling chapter, believe it or not, in my book. I wrote about it in my book. The same year that LeBron James was in the before I say LeBron James, thank you, Ivan. The tallest building in Nevada is Strato, which was once called Stratosphere. What's that? Okay. We're going to call that structure, the tallest structure. It's a more appropriate way to word it. The tallest structure in the state of Nevada is Strato, which was once called Stratosphere, originally created by Bob Stupak, a crackhead. He was a crackhead. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he got rid of him. He was like Stu Unger's right-hand guy as far as having his back. That's why nobody messed with Stu Unger, the great poker player who was also a crackhead and died in the same hotel. The Oasis Motel took his last crack hit in the same motel that I took my first crack hit in. The Oasis Motel, about a block north of Stratosphere on Las Vegas Boulevard. It was called Stratosphere. Now it's called Strato. Also owned by Vicky Properties. It's also currently owned by Vicky Property. Vicky Property owns every ounce of property except the Wynn and the Encore casinos along the Strip, all the way from Mandalay Bay down to Stratusville. Down to Strato, all the way from Mandalay Bay south on the Strip, all the way down to Strato. So anyway, getting back to my story in Atlantic City, I was smoking crack and getting high, and I went out to score some more crack because I was staying out on the Black Horse Pike, in a motel out on the Black Horse Pike, and I had to hustle. I had to figure out a way to get it because I had no money. So I figured, okay, I'll go out and get somebody and score it for them. So I got somebody who wanted some, and ended up going to a motel where I scored it at. Where all the small-time drug dealers were sitting in the same room. About 8 of them were sitting in the same room playing video games and selling their chips of crack to their different customers that walked in. I had my regular dealer that was sitting in there, and went in there and got it. My car was parked about 100 yards away from where I scored it, and went over to my car, and there was a task force that was in the parking lot that was watching me. The guy that I was scoring the crack for was an undercover arms agent that I'd been scoring crack for a few other times in the past through a 6-month period. Actually watched me take a hit when I was driving, and he acted like he took a hit when I was driving, but I guess he didn't really take a hit. He just acted like he was. And anyway, he was a youngster. He was but he was an undercover agent. And it never hit me till I got thrown in jail. But anyway, when I scored the shit, I had a drink, and I was driving my Monte Carlo, and he was sitting in the passenger side, and I handed the shit to him when I got in the car and started driving down Atlantic Avenue, down toward the Taj Mahal, where I picked him up. And all of a sudden, I see the cherry lights behind me. There's a task force behind my car, and they were pulling me over. And they pulled me over right in between where a bus was parked, and they parked right behind me. Well, I said to him, yelled at him, I said, swallow that shit. He fucking sat there with it in his hand, and I said, hand it to me. When he slowly handed it to me, he didn't do it real quickly, but he slowly handed it to me. And by the time I had it in my mouth and I had my drink, I was drinking my drink, they were standing at the side of my car watching me down my drink with the straw, drink my drink. and drinking it, sucking it in my drink with a straw. And they knocked on my window, and they tried to get me to open my window, and finally I rolled down my window, power window. I pressed the button to roll down the power window, and they grabbed me, dragged me out of the car, head first out of the window, threw me down toward the pavement, and started stomping my head into the pavement and said, "Cough that shit up, cough that shit up." Well, I'd already swallowed the shit. That's why I always had a drink in front of me. And hey, nobody's smart smoking crack. I thought I was a smart guy. I thought I was going to have a drink in front of me and swallow that shit. And when I got caught and got the shit down my throat, they just put my head down the pavement, beat my head down the pavement. They had to put stitches in my head when they before they had to take me to the emergency room and put stitches in my head, my forehead, above my eye, and where I had the gash, and then gave me a resisting arrest because they had to have a reason to beat my head in the pavement. I was resisting arrest, right? I swallowed the crack. That was a resisting arrest. And anytime you mess with the law and they want you, they're going to get you. And the resisting arrest was just as great as getting caught with the rocks of crack. And so when I went to jail, after they took me to emergency, I was sitting in jail for like the first 2 weeks. My bail was $10,000, so that meant my bond was $1,000. It was 10% back then. It's gone up to 12% recently. The government wants a little more money now for their expenses. Expenses go up, their profit goes up. So now it's like they charged me the 10% bond, so I had to put up $1,000. I couldn't get a bondsman to bail me out. I didn't know anybody in Atlantic City. I'm from the West Coast. The only people I knew was my family, so I called my older brothers. Not one of them would help me. They'd hang up. And my sons were like younger. They were in their 20s, and I just felt ashamed to even ask them for money, but I ended up sitting in jail. Not one of my millionaire brothers, not one of my 3 older brothers. Hey, if being a millionaire is so great, you can't help a family member, you can't bail a family member out of jail for like $1,000, and then 2 weeks later, my bail went down to $700. My bond went down to $700. My bail went down to $7,000, and my bond went down to $700. They still wouldn't bail me out. They wouldn't even answer the phone. I was dead broke. I didn't have any money. Like I say, I was out there trying to hustle for my next chip to smoke. And so I sat in jail. And it was the same time that LeBron James was in jail. Or not in the professional, the NBA. He was 18 years old. He was playing his first year in the NBA at the age of 18. Kobe Bryant was the youngest NBA player ever at the age of 19. Well, LeBron beat him at the age of 18. And he was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the guards loved LeBron James. So every time they had a basketball game, they were playing live on TV. He would they would have LeBron James on TV playing for the Cavaliers. And we all got to watch the games in jail, which was fantastic. I loved LeBron James back then. In fact, I even bought a picture of LeBron James on the Atlantic City boardwalk. After I got out of jail, I went and bought a picture. I only paid like $5 or $10 for the picture, and hung it up on my wall in my new apartment that I rented. And after I got out of jail, and I was put on probation. So anyway, I went to the Narcotics Anonymous meetings and watched the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and they always talked down smoking marijuana, like you couldn't smoke marijuana, and there were a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts in there, and there were people that smoked marijuana that didn't even bother going to Narcotics Anonymous because they knew they couldn't smoke marijuana either. So that's the only thing that bothered me about Narcotics Anonymous was they always knocked out marijuana. I always considered alcohol like another drug. But getting back to jail and watching LeBron James play in the NBA was exciting. So he naturally became my favorite player. But as the years rolled by, And all the way up to 2015 and 2016 when Trump got elected and LeBron kept going out of his way to badmouth Trump along with Robert De Niro, then I didn't like LeBron James after that. I just thought, why don't you just keep your nose out of politics and just play basketball like I like to watch you play and stop knocking Trump, because I love Trump. And all the Trump knockers like Robert De Niro and LeBron James, they went for my favorite actors. Not LeBron, Robert De Niro was never my favorite actor. Denzel Washington was always my favorite actor for years, Denzel Washington. John Wayne, Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, Liam Neeson. They were my favorite actors. But as far as like LeBron James goes, there's no athlete like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was smart enough to keep his nose out of politics. And that's why I respect Michael Jordan so much more. And he's a much better athlete than LeBron James ever was. So I'm wearing Michael Jordan tennis shoes right now. Just paid like almost $200 for them. I bought them in Inglewood, California. I just went out there and played poker for like a week. Pre-trial prevention allowed me to leave the state of Nevada and go play poker for a week in L.A. And I played 6 days in a row, and I won every day. I didn't win a lot, but after 6 days of play, being on my road trip for 1 week, I made $4,500 profit. And now I had to turn the income into my accountant and have her record that income, so they'll let me take a trip next month. Next month in February, they'll let me take another week trip. And I love L.A. I love it. I'm gonna buy a house there as soon as I can in California, in Southern California, because I don't care how expensive it is. There's only so much land between the ocean and the mountains. And that's what makes a house so expensive in California, is the land it sits on. So they can kiss my ass with how expensive California is and how everybody's moving out. I'm moving in because I'm tired of being told what to do in the state of Nevada. That's basically what casinos try to tell me what to do, and now the federal government's going after me, and they're going to tell me what to do. The only thing I ask them is please let me go to California, because I'm out of the sex capsule business. I'm done. I'm retired. I'm on to bigger and better things, and I'm running my podcast. That's all I want to do. I'm retired as of now, except for my podcast and except for being an author, which I will write another book, but not until I sell my first. Not until I get a huge audience, because if Kamala Harris can sell her piece of shit book that's filled with lies and she had a ghostwriter write it, then I deserve to sell mine also. So get my hat and my book. I'll give you the free hat, one of my 6 past sex capsule labels, included with the book absolutely for free. Because I overcharge you on the book, I realize this, but it's the best quality book you'll ever read. It's the best quality hard copy book ever put out in print, in the past and in the future. You'll never see anything like it. And Barnes & Nobles does not have one book of the same quality of my book in their entire store. Not one book. So there you go. And all I have to say is, if you get bored in life, get a dog. Adopt a dog. Go to the animal shelter and adopt a dog. And sure, they're going to make you have it spayed or neutered, but the dog's going to live longer and be your companion much longer. And dogs don't care about kids like human beings. I mean, it's not like a woman has to have a baby, and they'll be unfulfilled if they don't. A dog does not feel any fulfillment from having puppies. The only thing it does is just wears and tears their body. And the female's body is all baggy underneath because all the puppies worked the milk out of their body. And they didn't have just one baby. They had like several babies, up to several babies, that were all working them to death. And they don't live as long. So there you go. Like I say, if you get bored in life, get a dog. Because dog is God spelled backwards. God bless. I'll see you next time. This is the Roadrunner, straight out of Vegas, the Roadrunner Podcast. Bye-bye.